Ripple secured another EMI license in Europe, this time in Luxembourg, 5 days after they received their EMI license in the UK. Now they have access to over 27 countries across Europe and are plugged into their infrastructure now for payments. These are payments licenses, okay? This is not about price, although price is going up today. But we have the EMI license with Luxembourg. We had the tariffs not being ruled on today. We had Brad coming out saying that 2026 is the year that everything is happening. Accounts to activity is still elevated, and now we're starting to see payments volume increase. We're going to cover everything today, but first, let's hear directly from Ripple.
I'm Cassie Craddock, VP and Managing Director of the UK and Europe at Ripple, and I'm thrilled to announce that we've been granted our license to bring our crypto-enabled cross-border payment solution to the European Union. European customers can now access real-time settlement, global on and off ramps, and last-mile payouts, and it's all managed end-to-end using Ripple's market-leading digital asset technology. The region is striding into the future of digital finance, and Ripple is here to power it.
Let's also not forget. Oh, hang on. Let me get out of there. There we go. Let's also not forget, too, that they just received about 2 months ago their license through the MAS in Singapore. So they have access to Asian Rail. They have access to 27 countries across Europe. They're a MiCA compliant stablecoin with RLUSD. And every single day, we're inching closer and closer and closer to the Clarity Act, looking like it's going to be done before midterms. But everything is ramping up in 2026. That is definitely the case. I see Raul already hopped into the chat. Hopefully there's more people hopping in the chat. Again, the chat is the lifeblood of the stream. Let me know your thoughts, opinions, questions, and after I get through all of the information, I hop into the chat and we cover every single question. But let's go ahead and hop into the price and see what we're actually dealing with today, and we will cover back with the EMI license and what's happening with the Supreme Court and tariffs, as well as potential rate cuts at the end of the month. Miss Wendy's in the house. I see you jumping in, and let's see what's going on with the price. Let me go to the 1 hour chart so we can look at that. Currently, we're at 214. We pulled back. Now we were up as high as 218 today. I want to see this go above 220. I want to see us set a new high, so see if we can continue to push our way up. Again, this isn't news-based. This is structure-based. 5 days, 2 major licenses in Europe, and price does nothing, right? Price does nothing with news for Ripple. We know this. What will do something is payment activity, and we're going to cover that. Let's see how the entire crypto market is doing right now, if this will load. No, we're not that part. We're at the ETF. Sorry. Currently, today has been awesome for ETFs. $33 million in volume already, and it's just noon Central Time, so we still have about 3 hours to go. ETF volume is flying today. There is no question. And the entire crypto market, for the most part, is doing very well, with XMR and Zcash stealing the show. XRP is up 2% today. Bitcoin's up 3% today. And there was a tweet from the world's smartest man, if you will, claiming that Bitcoin was going to hit 100K within the next 24 hours. He claimed that when Bitcoin was at 93,000, last I checked, it was at 97,000. And then let's take a quick look at silver, see how silver is doing, because I do know we hit $92, right? At one point. Let's see where it's at now. Silver's futures is currently pulled back down to 91. Again, we'll see if it's going to continue setting new all-time highs. A lot of this has to do with fear and uncertainty about what's going on with tariffs, what's going on with the Fed. There's a lot of stuff going on right now, especially when we had, Trump coming out basically saying he's going to arrest Jerome Powell for fraud. So will the Fed go away? Who knows? Man, these allergies are kicking my butt lately. My nose has been itching like crazy last 2 times I've streamed. I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me. But we're talking about ledger activity, and we're talking about payments volume increasing. We've been talking about that because of account set activity. This sustained spike of account set activity that's been going on over the last 2 months, right? Let me pull this up so you can see it a little bit better. More than the entire history of the ledger. I say it just about every stream. I'm sure you guys are probably sick of hearing it, but we are starting to see this translate into payment activity. We got up to 1.45, then 1.3. Now we're already at a million roughly for today. And it's, again, it's only noon. So payment activity is increasing. I want to see it get above 2 million and stay there consistently. That would be back up to these 2024 levels when we were at all-time highs. So I want to see that continue to push up like when we were running these pilot programs back in 2024. However, we are starting to see this account set activity translate to increased payment activity. Again, we want to see it continue to spike though. This is beginning, but we want to see it maintain. So again, if you guys want to follow me on X, you can. It's Longview Crypto. I put all this information out when I see it, and then I cover it in videos and streams and stuff like that if I feel that it's important. But if you want it first, you can get it on X at Longview Crypto. Fear and greed index has pulled back. We're at a neutral right now. There's, again, a lot of uncertainty. We don't have a ruling on tariffs. We don't have any updated information from the Fed. Everything's just kind of chilling right now. The only thing we do have is, again, Supreme Court ruling won't come today. These retailers are waiting. So the Supreme Court won't rule on the constitutionality of some of the president's tariffs this morning. 3 opinions were issued, but not on the tariff case. So nothing with tariffs. Then we covered the news, right? I'll go ahead and briefly break into all this. Again, let me know what you guys think in the chat. Get the chat going. Hit the like button if you guys are here. Let's see this thing grow far and wide. Ripple secured preliminary approval for electronic money institution EMI license in Luxembourg on January 14th. This marks the second major European regulatory milestone in less than a week. The commission, whatever you want to say, CSSF, issued a green light letter to enterprise blockchain firm. Designation indicates that the regulator has completed its legal review of the application. The company must now fulfill specific operational requirements to receive the final authorization. Once fully authorized, the license will grant Ripple passporting rights to offer services across the entire European Economic Area. This adds to a portfolio of more than 75 licenses worldwide. The Luxembourg milestone arrived just 5 days after the United Kingdom's Financial Conduct Authority, the FCA, granted Ripple a full EMI license on the 9th of January. The British regulator also approved the company's registration as a crypto asset service provider. So, this kind of easy to say, but this license approval validates a long-term regional strategy that began last year. Ripple initiated its European expansion for the RLUSD stablecoin in July of 2025, specifically targeting Luxembourg as its entry point into the block. The green light status now allows the firm to operationalize those plans as crypto firms prepare the full implementation of markets in crypto assets regulation, MiCA. So, guys, everything is turning on right now. I mean, how do I put this plainly? Not to get all hypey and say that the switch is being flipped, but we are seeing adoption and utility start to turn on at scale. We're seeing the approvals go out, and I'm not seeing any other crypto payment other than like stablecoin issuers, but I'm not seeing any other crypto companies with a native token that's not a stable coin that's getting this kind of regulation. And that's why I think, me personally, that RLUSD was so essential. A lot of people thought it made XRP useless, but it was so essential for Ripple to have their own stablecoin so they can get plugged into all these infrastructure assets to give them the opportunity to use XRP as the bridge. So basically, RLUSD is kind of their way of slithering XRP into the infrastructure. Again, in my opinion. So right now, price is increasing. I still do think $3 is in play this month, depending on how the next few days work out with the different levels, right, of the price action. Because again, it's a structural price and it's going to be pushed by liquidity. Liquidity is the only thing that's going to push market spot price, right? Buying pressure, supply and demand. ETF inflows are still very strong. There is buying happening for XRP. I want to see some more buying volume though. The volume has been kind of muted for the, pretty much the entire month, really. There hasn't been, we've seen some price action, but there hasn't been a ton of volume behind it. So I would like to see some more volume. But let's hop into the chat. There's only a few people in the chat today. No one else is really talking. Let's see what everyone has to say. Rose said, good afternoon to everyone. Miss Wendy's in the house. Todd Madison made it in with 18 people in here. If someone could let me know how many people are in the stream right now, I'd appreciate it. Actually, I could probably look on my other screen right now. I've figured out a way to pull up both, if you know what I mean. Oh, we got 25 people in here today. I only see 5 chats. Sign off in the chat if you guys are in here. Let me know. Let's talk about some stuff. I've already gone through all of the information, but I would like to get this thing going. Let's get this thing growing. Let's get some more people in here and get them the real information about what's actually happening with XRP. Again, my opinion, not any financial advice here. This is always for educational and entertainment purposes only, but I would like to get some non-hype material out to the rest of the viewership out there. So I'll do a recap for anyone who's coming in late here in just a second. But again, please engage in the chat. The chat is the lifeblood of the stream. And I really appreciate everyone for taking your time to be here today. Damien says, was good long view. What's the word with Brick Nation talking about using XRP? And I was under the impression that XLM was connected to Ripple. No, XLM is not connected to Ripple. That's Stellar. So no connection there. The only thing they have in common is that they're both payments, but XLM's more like retail based, smaller based, whereas Ripple is going to be your more institutional infrastructure based cryptocurrency. As far as Brick Nation talking about using XRP, that's been being discussed for a long time, like over a decade. There's never been really any concrete connection to it. Honestly, if I was going to see anyone adopting XRP as like a currency, I'd see Japan doing it probably before anyone else, just because of how linked Japan is to Ripple and to the XRPL. I mean, they've already pretty much said that they're tokenizing their entire economy on the XRPL. So I would expect that more than BRICS, but there has been rumor about BRICS doing a gold-backed currency using XRP and stuff like that before. I've heard those rumors as well, but nothing concrete. But however, the theory is enticing, right? That's one of those things that it's like I can't find any proof. It's pure speculation, but it's one of those things I'd love to be wrong, but I'm still here for the long view of it. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully that answers your question there, Damien. Three Brothers is in the house saying hello to the XRP army. Abdul says, do you own any CC? Thinking about buying some. I did pick some up. Yes. Only a little bit. It was only like $200 worth, but I did pick some up. There's a couple exchanges that you can do it through. I personally picked mine up through Caleb and Brown, but they are someone I'm going to be partnering with in the future, and I'll be bringing that information to you guys when I have it. I do believe that they are a great brokerage. You've probably heard about them through some other people, but I will be working with them as well. I'm working on finishing up my LLC this week and should be signing off on all those papers and turning on monetization this month. So that's the goal. Exciting times for the channel. Hopefully it continues to grow. We can get everything spread out far and wide and get the long view out there to the rest of the crypto world that's drowning in all the hype and the noise. Let's see. So yes, Abdul, I do own some. It was one of my dart throws. You guys know how I'm talking about dart throws. I have my 4 pillars and then I throw darts when I have a little bit extra. It was one of my dart throws. However, I'm thinking about establishing a 5th pillar and bringing it in there just because of all the institutional backing that's in it. But I want to get some more information together before I really bring it to you guys. Again, not financial advice, but it's definitely something that I am looking into. Oh, my mic's picking up in the picture there. Oh, we don't want that. There we go. Let's see here. So hopefully that answers that for you there. Who was that? Abdul. Stephen Haynes is in the house. What's going on, Stephen? Yeshua said, good afternoon to everyone. Appreciate you being here. Isaac says, when do you need supply shock when do you see supply shock from ETFs? Okay, so let's clarify what I believe supply shock is. If you haven't seen it, or maybe you have, I have my supply shock model. I need to update it based on numbers because I haven't updated it since December. But essentially, the way my supply shock model is every 250 to 500 million XRP that is removed from supply, that is locked into an ETF trust, just based on supply and demand economics math and the way the chart is formed, we should see a 20 to 40% increase every time we see a 5 to 10% depletion in supply. So we are currently at 800 million, I believe, locked up. Let's see. Says 788 million currently locked up into ETFs trust. So we are within that second leg. You don't know what I'm looking at. So we're within that. We're currently at 788 million locked into ETF trust. So we are in this second leg of the model, right? The 700 million to 1.3 billion. I wrote this out at the end of December. It expected us to hit this area in around 4 to 8 weeks, which we are in it right now. So we should be seeing, according to the math model, another 20 to 40% increase. That's how my supply shock math works for you. Hopefully that explains it. I take the pieces of everything, right? We got to focus on all the things that are going to have an impact on XRP. Supply impacts XRP, right? News does impact XRP. Licensing, infrastructure, build out. All of these things are going to affect XRP. How do they affect XRP? We're not seeing it happen in the price. Price isn't going up. All this good news, right? We're building out the infrastructure. XRP does not move with Ripple news. We need to get value onto the ledger, right? Because XRP is a bridge asset. It needs things to bridge between. Right now, we only have 500 million of tokenized assets on the XRP ledger, okay? And most of that's RLUSD. There's nothing to swap between. We need to get on board with these other countries, right? We need an RL euro. We need an RL pound. We need an RL yen. We need tokenized gold, tokenized diamonds, tokenized real estate, all of these different things, all of this different value that's going to come onto the ledger through tokenization over the next 5 to 10 years gives XRP something to bridge. It doesn't need to bridge anything if we're only working in RLUSD right now, okay? This is why we need the Clarity Act. This is why we need structure and legislation so that these companies can feel comfortable building out trillion-dollar projects on blockchain, but right now they can't because we have no legal documentation saying that crypto is not going to change with the next administration. Again, my opinion, not financial advice. Long-winded answer for you, but hopefully that clears up your question there. Let's see, who was that? That was Isaac. Okay, hopefully that answers your question, Isaac, on the supply shock. Stephen Haynes says, I really think Ripple is setting up the rest of the world ahead of the Clarity Act. And when we put it into law, a lot of the world will be ready for our banks. Well, agreed. They are already plugged in ahead of the Clarity Act, and they're plugged in. And this is what we talked about. They're plugged in because of RLUSD, right? The banks can use RLUSD. They can start building out on these things because the Genius Act is already in play, right? So they have legal clarity on stablecoins. And because Ripple has their own stablecoin, they're already built into all the infrastructure. People want to talk about Ripple dumping and selling XRP. They do sell their XRP, roughly about 300 million of it every single month. But they have been using it to build out their infrastructure and build out the network. This is not new news. They've been doing it since 2017. There's a lot of misinformation about that. So I completely agree with you, Steven. I do believe they're building it out ahead of time thanks to RLUSD. It gives them a reason to and a way to continue to push it. And then XRP is going to be sitting there in the middle when they're ready to start switching between different things on Ledger. Yeshua says, how the number 3 coin like XRP only $2? There has to be manipulation going on. I think it should be at least $15 to $20. Well, Yeshua, if it was $15 to $20, it'd be the number 1 coin. You know what I'm saying? If that's the case, if you want to factor it in with everything in that case should be raised up in the crypto space, right? Right now, the use case is not written in stone. Once we start seeing things, again, once we start seeing things switched between things on Ledger, that's the function of XRP. It needs value on Ledger. Now as far as spot price, that's just supply and demand. And when you're talking about, again, the way the world sees it, we know it's not all available, but the way the world sees it, there's 100 billion XRP available out there. So $2 per XRP is still a $200 billion market cap, which makes it the 3rd largest crypto. However, There's rumors. Again, we're in speculation area when we're going through the chat, but there are rumors of some kind of BNB and XRP thing going on, some kind of cross-chain thing going on with BNB and XRP. That's really exciting. I showed you guys the video yesterday about LCX hinting that they're going to be tokenizing pretty much all of their stuff on the XRP ledger because Ethereum's too wishy-washy. People are wanting the speed, stability, structure, and price of the XRP ledger to build on. And as we start getting more of these projects and more value onto the XRP ledger, this year's so exciting, man. Like I don't know what the price is going to be this year, but I mean we need to get legislation passed. But it is so exciting this year about everything that's coming down the pipeline. I'm pumped if you haven't noticed. Damian Voss said, thanks for answering me. Absolutely. I go through every question, every stream. My goal is to build the community through the hype, cut through the noise, and I want to talk with you guys. You guys are people just like me. I'm just here doing the research. I hope you can come up with your own opinions, thoughts, and do your own research. I'm just trying to tell you what I think, see, since I have nothing better to do than research crypto all day. Let's see here. Crypto Roger says, I am under the impression we don't see Clarity Act this year. That's a possibility, but I'm hoping we get it before midterms. I know a lot of people are saying March, April. I don't think that's happening. I think if we get it this year, it's going to happen right before midterms. And again, I'm going to go with my coin flip theory on that. I think it's a coin flip if we get it by midterms at this point, just by the way Congress is acting. And again, we want that clarity on what XRP is, not what it isn't, because only clarity we have right now is what XRP is not, and that is not a security. Isaac said, thank you. You're very welcome. Quelly just hopped in. Welcome, Quelly. Everyone, thank you for taking your time to be here. I appreciate you all. Daniel says, since real world use was a major factor for BIS tier rating and increase, do you think that this may push XRP higher in the tier rating? Not yet. I don't think we're going to see it get pushed higher in the tier rating until its function on ledger starts showing up. Does that make sense? I don't want to sit here and say XRP doesn't have a use case, but because there's not things on ledger for it to actively bridge a ton of, right now it's just a liquidity feature, really, on ledger. They're just using it as a liquidity feature. It's not really being used as a bridge. But that being said, once we have more on ledger, I think that's when it gets elevated. Once its use case steps up, I think is when it gets elevated. Again, my opinion. And we know that will happen. They've laid all the infrastructure and framework down. It just hasn't started running yet. Any opinion about Wormhole? Asked Abdul. Absolutely. I think it's fantastic. If I don't know if you caught the stream when I did it or not, but I said I thought 2025 was the year of acquisitions and infrastructure. And I think 2026 is going to be the year of adoption, utility, and interoperability. I like kind of how last year it seemed like every month there was a new acquisition or this new infrastructure rail that got laid down. I think that this year we're going to see a lot of that with interoperability and cross-chain work, right? We've already seen it this year with Flare, Solana, Ethereum, what was it, Hyperliquid, and Optimism, right? All of those are being worked on for interoperability with the XRP ledger. There's also rumors of a BNB project going on, a BNB XRPL thing going on. So, I mean, interoperability is going to be major. Having all of these things work together, the more they can work together, especially the ISO 20022, say that 5 times fast, especially those tokens, interoperability is going to be key. And I think that's going to be I think that's going to be the narrative of 2026. It's going to be adoption and regulation and interoperability projects. My opinion, not financial advice, but Wormhole is extremely important and effective for the XRPL. Again, more value on the ledger, the better. We want money on the ledger. We want value on the ledger. How do you think Hedera's Agecraft technology compares and competes with blockchain? I'll have to do a little bit more digging on that. I'm not 100% sure how to answer that. I'll be truthful with you. I invested in HBAR specifically because of the contracts that it got. and the institutional backing that it has and the amount of tokenization projects it was working on. So I need to dive deeper into HBAR. I'm not as locked into that as I am XRP, where I can talk about the ins and outs of XRP with you without looking up anything. I'm not on that level with HBAR. I need to do some more research and comfortability on it. And that's where I'm trying to get with Canton Network, right? CC. I'm trying to get to that point. So when you guys do have questions for me, I can come on here and talk to you about it confidently from things that I have seen and researched and know in my mind. If I don't feel confident enough to where I can answer a random question on it, then I need to do more research. You know what I'm saying? That's how I feel on it. I don't want to give you false information without having a real, locked in viewpoint of it. So hopefully that answers your question. I'll as I branch this out, I'll definitely get more information on those things for you, though. Hopefully that answers you, resident. I don't want to give you bad information. Quelly said, if the Clarity Act doesn't pass at all, what would happen to XRP? Yes, I'm asking about price. That's what really affects me. Let's be honest. Okay, so if the Clarity Act does not get passed at all, I would say this. If the Clarity Act does not get passed at all by the end of this administration, then I would worry. Truthfully, because if we have a new president come in, a new administration come in, then everything that's been done to this point can be undone. And that is a lot of fear. At that point, I would consider taking some profits because it's definitely going to go the other way if everything gets undone. But we won't know what the landscape is looking like until we get closer to that time period. Until we get closer to, what is it, 2028? So, I mean, that would be very worrisome. I'm not going to lie to you, Quelly. If the Clarity Act doesn't happen during this administration, I'm worried. Truthfully. Stephen Haynes, do you feel these raises in price are just because Bitcoin is rising? Yes. And that's a troublesome thing because Bitcoin's up higher than XRP right now. But I don't think Bitcoin's rising, so the rest of things are rising. But all in all, liquidity is being entered back into the market right now. So the entire stock market's up because the Fed, or not the Fed. Well, yeah, the Fed has been injecting more money into the economy, right? There's I think they've grown the balance sheet so far this month by like 300 million or 300 billion. Which one? I don't know. But I think it's 300 billion actually. So they've already grown the balance sheet this year by 300 billion of fresh money being injected in the economy. And for those of you who don't know what that means, they just go click, there's 300 billion more. And people wonder why our dollar is worth nothing. why you can't go to the grocery store and buy a carton of eggs for less than $6 sometimes. It's because they do quantitative easing and just bloop, here's another 300 million in the economy, or 300 billion for that matter. So that's why markets are pumping right now. It's because of liquidity entering the market, and tariffs didn't get ruled on. That's why things aren't really moving a ton right now. Everything's kind of chopping this week, waiting for decisions, and we've got no information. Shocker. Seems about legit, right? Let's see here. So let's get into a recap for everyone. If you guys came in late, I'm going to do the recap for you. Let me hop into X and pull up the video for you real quick, and we will cover it. We pull this up here. This is about the new license that Ripple just acquired, linking it to all 27, well, not all 27, but linking it to 27 separate countries in Europe.
I'm Cassie Craddock, VP and Managing Director of the UK and Europe at Ripple, and I'm thrilled to announce that we've been granted our license to bring our crypto-enabled cross-border payment solution to the European Union. European customers can now access real-time settlement, global on and off ramps, and last-mile payouts, and it's all managed end-to-end using Ripple's market-leading digital asset technology. The region is striding into the future of digital finance, and Ripple is here to power it.
All right, so got their EMI license in Luxembourg, gives them access to the entire EU. They also just got their EMI license in UK 5 days ago. So now they you couple that with with 2 months ago when they got their license with the MAS in Singapore. So now they have access to the Asia corridors, the European corridors. Don't forget, they also had that banking partnership in South Africa, right? So they're plugged into South African corridors. They had the thing in Switzerland with Amina Bank, okay? They have grown out their infrastructure massively over the last couple months, and it is not even funny. We talk about account set activity. Account set activity has been spiking during this time, right? Of all these announcements of infrastructure, this account set activity started spiking. The last 2 months, there has been more activity than the entire history of the ledger. And if you go back and look at the history of the ledger, that account set activity lags into payment activity. Now we're finally starting to see ramp ups in payment activity. Will this continue? We want to see it get up to 2 million. If this gets up to 2 million sustained payment activity, you are going to see an increase in price. Not financial advice, but I feel comfortable guaranteeing you that. So if we see this, continue to ramp up to 2 million, which would be higher than their consistent thing since the pilot in 2024, then we would see a real increase in price, regardless of what's happening with clarity, regardless of what's happening with the markets. If that payment activity increases to over 2 million sustained payments per day, we're going to see some activity. Right now, the entire crypto market is kind of bouncing back and forth. Bitcoin's up 3% today. XRP is up 1%. XMR and ZEC are doing great today with 15% and 12% gains. And we also discussed, you can follow me on X at Longview Crypto. That I will retweet these things as soon as I see them. So if you want to see them before the videos, before the streams, you can follow me on X. Supreme Court did not have a tariff ruling. They pushed it out again. There's really no news in this entire article other than they didn't do it. So no news on tariffs right now. Ripple got their license. Fear and greed index is still around to 52. We're still sitting in neutral. Markets don't have a clue what they want to do, but a couple people are running their mouths. Young-Hoo Kim, world's smartest man, is saying that he expects Bitcoin to be at 100K within the next 24 hours as of 3 hours ago. What does he know that we don't? I don't know. But again, we're here for the long view. We're not here for what the price is today, tomorrow, but what it's going to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now, right? And about dollar cost averaging in over time. Again, none of this is financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but I'm trying to get people away from the hype mentality, the pump and dump, get rich quick scheme that most people get wrecked on more than people actually make any kind of money, let alone get rich. Quelly said, unfortunately, no profits at this time, bought at the wrong time. Unfortunately, that's how it works. And that's why I kept saying we are early. We are early to this. We don't have clarity. We don't have anything guaranteed. And that's why I've said multiple times, until clarity is signed in the law, it can change with a new administration. That's the risk we take as an investor. But I want to give you guys a clear understanding of the risk, because a lot of people come out here and say, oh, XRP already has clarity. None of the other ones do. XRP has partial clarity. The only clarity it has is what it's not what it is. We only know that it's not a security, which is still more than most of the crypto space. And it's looking like all of this stuff is going to happen. But that's the risk we take. That's why we research. That's why we show up every day. That's why we develop a thesis. And that's why we develop an investment plan for the long view, right? That's why we have diversity. We talk about the 4 pillars of different investments, okay? And then taking dart throws when you have extra as needed when you've done your due diligence and research. Again, my opinion, not financial advice, but that's how this is going to work for the long view. It really is. There's not a shortcut. There's not a shortcut. There is no shortcut in the long view. So I'm sorry that you're down, Quelly. I know it hurts, but I'm telling you, keep stacking. If it makes you feel better, makes you feel any better, I'll tell you guys a story. This is a sad story, okay? And it's not my stroke story. This is before the stroke story. But in 2019, I began stacking XRP. I really got into crypto in 2000. Well, I didn't really get into it. I started getting into crypto in 2017, and I really started stacking in about 2019 when I finally got out of debt. And then in 2021, my crypto bag was all the way up over 200K. I went from having about $50,000 in debt when I was 30 to being out of debt in 2019. So that would have put me right at about 35. So by the time I was 37, my crypto bag was worth over $200,000. And then 2021 happened and it crashed, right? Then I had the strokes, and then I got a divorce and I had to liquidate everything when it was at its worst possible price. So I literally had over $200,000 in crypto in 2021 and lost everything. That's a lesson that I had to learn and paid for, right? But I learned from it. And I mean, life's going to teach you lessons, okay? You got to learn from it and move on. But that's the game we play when we're playing with crypto. I did not take profits. I held on. Sir Charles is in the house with his couple cups of coffee. Kevin Hawthorne's in here today. Stephen Haynes says, was there supposed to be a decoupling from Bitcoin around this time? There's discussion about a potential DAT reclassification tomorrow when they were discussing the crypto market structure bill. I want to see what happens with that. That's still going to be discussed tomorrow. And I think if the Bitcoin treasury companies are reclassified, that they have to become funds like an ETF or something like that, that is going to cause a massive rotation out of Bitcoin. We've already started to see the rotation in the ETFs, right? With Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs having outflows while XRP is still maintaining inflows. It's not as big and fancy as people think, but that is institutional rotation. So we're seeing it behind the scenes, but not in this grand scheme that people are thinking about. Because again, there were theories and theses out there telling people that these extreme things were going to happen. We may still have something extreme happen, but it's not likely. Okay, that is the exception to the rule, not what's likely to happen. Now, again, if there is a reclassification of how they view the DATs, that's going to have a massive impact on Bitcoin and can crash it and could potentially create a decoupling. But I think what a lot of people were talking about as far as a decoupling with Bitcoin is going to revolve around clarity, right? If Bitcoin is classified as like the treasury companies and they take some kind of hit, right? And XRP gets a good clarification that allows it to be used at scale, that could instantly create a decoupling from Bitcoin. There are scenarios in which it could happen, but how likely are it to happen? You know what I'm saying? That's a better question. Yeshua says, I think the OTC should be illegal because they won't bring the price up. What do you think? I would say no. The OTC desks have been around since the beginning of the stock market. It's designed so institutional players can get into and out of positions without impacting the entire market. Again, that happens with stocks, bonds, all those things. They have over-the-counter exchanges, not retail exchanges like we have to work with, specifically to handle those large order books because it can cause a lot of volatility. The OTC desks are there specifically to deter volatility. And now I understand on our end, it sucks because we want the volatility because we're expecting the volatility to be good for us with a sharp spike that way, right? You know what I'm saying? So it's, I don't think it's a manipulation thing. It's not ever going to go away. That's a factor that has been there for decades and decades in the stock market. Again, my opinion, not financial advice. Three Brothers says, if banks and institutions are moving big amounts of money, does the price of XRP has to be higher? Well, there's a couple different ways they can move that money. If XRP's price is higher, they can do it in one transaction, less fees. One transaction means less chance of a problem to happen, right? So it is ideal, right, to do it in one transaction. The way the system works is it chooses the cheapest, fastest liquidity, whatever option that may be for whatever transfer they're doing. If XRP is cheapest and fastest, it'll automatically choose XRP. Now, as far as the price being higher in order for that to function, the better the higher price creates more liquidity, right? So it will function faster, or it will get chosen more at a higher price because it has higher liquidity, and it will be able to use less XRP to complete the transaction. So right now, if someone wanted to move $1 trillion and there's only $1 billion worth of XRP in that corridor, then they have to do multiple transactions, and that's not the best liquidity option, right? So that's where this idea comes from, that price has to be higher in order for XRP to work. It's not that it has to be higher. There's nothing written in the code that says it has to be $50 or $100 or $1,000 in order to work. But the higher its price is, the more liquidity it offers, the more likely it's to be chosen as the liquidity bridge when that payment or whatever thing is going on, so it can bridge that transaction. So truthfully, it's not necessarily a price issue, it's a liquidity issue, and a higher price creates more liquidity. My opinion, not financial advice. Let's see here. Crypto Roger said, my bag is now over $250,000, expecting to become a deca millionaire, but been waiting since before the lawsuit. Sad face. Yeah. If you want to hear some sad face news, one of the first altcoins I purchased in 2019 was Solana for $1 a token. And it went up to $250 in 2021, and I was still adding to my bag. I sold some of it, and I repurposed it into other cryptos, and then lost that promptly because everything crashed in 2021. I was on euphoria. I didn't think anything was going to go wrong, because 250x on Solana in 2 years. I was on cloud nine. I thought I was about to be rich. I learned a valuable lesson though. Got to keep stacking slowly. It's not a get rich quick scheme unless you buy at the top or buy at the bottom and sell at the top, which is incredibly difficult to do. No one's going to do it. Very few people do it anyway. Hawaii Rider said, did the tariff decision get delayed? Yes, it did. It got delayed again. Well, I don't know necessarily it got delayed. They just didn't answer it. So yeah, it got delayed. Yeshua says, the reason I got into XRP last Christmas is the whole XRP community saying it was going to 10K. A lot of people came to crypto in general because this or that or this or that was going to some absurd number with some absurd return. That's why that's why so many people look at crypto like it's a joke. That's why when I talk to my dad about crypto, he's like, I don't know. Because there's been so much BS and misunderstanding and misconfusion and over promises and hype and hopium. Instead of people understanding the investment is, yes, we are early, and yes, there is a great wealth potential, but people are not going to be made into millionaires like this. There's no shortcut in the long view. No shortcuts. But the cool thing is, though, a lot of people are coming to this space because of that. However, if I can catch them, if I can catch you all, come to this space for that reason and teach you a different way, again, not financial advice, but show you a different way, my way, right? The long view, a 10-year plan of crypto. Most people completely overestimate what they can achieve in a year and completely underestimate what they can achieve in a decade, okay? If you build this for a decade, at the end of the decade, I don't think you're going to be disappointed. Again, my opinion, not financial advice, but if you started building into tech stocks a decade ago, Amazon, Tesla, Netflix, whatever. If you started building into those stocks a decade ago, you'd be really happy with yourself right now, right? So, I mean, again, not financial advice, but zoom out and look at it from a different scale. No, I'm not going to make you rich tomorrow. No, you're not going to make you rich tomorrow. Some people get a lightning bolt, right? It happens. That's the exception to the rule, all right? That's not the norm. We're here for the long view. Let's see here. Gilbert, okay, he didn't answer. Resident B said, I'm down on all my crypto investments, so I have to keep a long view. I tried to stay focused on fundamentals. Now I don't listen to price predictions. There you go. Look, you have to think of it from a grand scheme of what you think it's going to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Do we think crypto is going to be an integral part in our system 10 years from now? I do. Do you? Let me know. Do you think that crypto, not just in our financial element like XRP, but in our entire internet of value, if you will, our entire online world is going to be consumed by blockchain? Remember, internet didn't exist 40 years ago, people. Well, it did. 40 years ago is when it started, right? AOL, you got mail. We're finally getting over the internet, and blockchain is the next phase. So if you look at what happened with the internet over the last 40 years, 45 years, almost 50 years since the invention of the internet, go Al Gore. No. But if you were there, you know. But it's been 50 years since really the invention of the internet. And look at what it's built out to. When people were, in AOL chat rooms, they had no clue I'd be able to get on a computer and talk to a million people like that with the snap of a finger. Okay. What's blockchain going to be in 40 years? We don't know. We are that early. So again, keep the long view. Again, create your own thesis, build out. What do you think the world's going to look like? What problems are we trying to solve? What can we build to in the future? And we do it as we can, step by step, piece by piece. Gilbert says, do you think we will realistically get something going on tomorrow with Clarity Act, or should we expect prices to go down again? There's nothing going to happen with the Clarity Act tomorrow. Only one half of the bill is even being talked about tomorrow, and that's the one from the Banking Committee. The Agriculture Committee delayed their portion of the markup until the end of the month. So there's no vote happening tomorrow. There's not. We will be lucky if we get a vote at the end of the month, which I don't think we're even going to get either. I don't think we actually see a real vote until March or April, and even then, I don't expect it to pass. I don't think we're going to really get anything with the Clarity Act until midterms, until just before midterms. And if we don't get that, we're looking at 2029. Again, my opinion, not financial advice, but I don't want to give you guys hopium and misinformation. That's what I think is going to happen. Stephen Haynes says price is going down again. Is it? Oh yeah, we're down to 213 now. Isn't that lovely? It did get down as low as 212. I mean, we were at 212 this morning, but we're under EMA. And again, we had to cool off. We were at this over bought area up here. And it's funny too, we're price is going down, but if we go over again, look at your RSI, look at your divergences. And again, this is just daily noise. But if we scroll over here, look at where the price was then, 212, and look where RSI was. It was way up here. So again, we've cooled the RSI all the way down. And when in doubt, zoom out. We want to look at the 1 week. This is how we're going to confirm a real breakout or not. And we are still battling with EMA 9. We were just cooling RSI on the 1 hour chart, actually. I mean, that's actually a healthy pullback in my opinion, because we've cooled RSI, but price is equal to or less than what it was. My opinion, not financial advice. Sir Charles, when you become a financial advisor, I'd like to be your first client. Okay, Sir Charles, bet. You got it. I actually just did a practice test the other day. I scored, what was it? An 81? I scored an 81 on it, and I need a 71 to pass, I think, is the number for the practice test. So I'm doing the practice test now. I'm scoring ahead of where I need to be. I'm starting to get some more confidence in it. And hopefully I can go take that Series 65 and knock out that license. And then after that, be the Series 63 so I can do insurance too. I would love to be able to write my own insurance. Actually, I know you legally can't, but you know what I mean. My girlfriend's a insurance agent as well. So she's the one who writes all my life insurance policies and all that stuff now. But she's an insurance agent for State Farm. No plugs. But her and I talk about that stuff all the time. So the goal is for me to get my Series 65 and then my Series 63. And she has her Series 63 and something else. She has another license for annuities and all those things as well. So the goal is between me and her, we can service a whole portfolio. That's the goal. But you got it, Sir Charles. I'll let you know. And then also too, here in February, one-on-ones will probably be coming too. Now they won't be financial advice. It'll be education. It'll be about like crypto security. It'll be about, educating you on how to build a proper portfolio, all of those things. So all of the basic information people should have to get themselves set up an investment plan, right? How a budget. So many people don't even have a budget. It astounds me. Someone asked me one recently, very, very recently, like yesterday or the day before. Someone asked me because I told them I think they were asking me about my opinion on some stuff, and I told them I thought they needed to invest 10% of their paycheck automatically before they do anything else and live off the rest. And he's like, how can you survive like that? I'm like, you buy less shit. Excuse my language. I'm like, how much is your car payment? You're 25. You got a $700 car payment. No, I understand that people want nice things and things are more expensive. We have to live beneath our means, people. And I'm telling you, the more you sacrifice now, or the younger you are when you sacrifice, the less you have to sacrifice later. And that's probably the most important lesson I ever learned. And I didn't learn it until I was about 35 years old. But when the more you sacrifice when you're younger, the less you have to sacrifice later. And the younger you are when you don't have to sacrifice anymore. Again, my opinion, not financial advice, but if I could beat people over in the head with that, man, when you're 18, actually before that, if you have kids, create an LLC, employ them before they're 18 and start their investment journey then tax-free. There's so many things I didn't know when I was in my 20s and 30s. I wish I knew, that I wish they taught in school. But they don't want us to know that information. They don't want people to know how to get ahead and work the taxes and do all those things and get out of the rat race, because they want their little employee consumers, right? They want us to go to work, do our 9 to 5, check in, check out, pay our taxes, and feed the machine. They don't want us getting ahead. Crypto Roger said, I had my group 2 life health Medicare. Okay. I just got whole life for my daughter a couple years ago. I got her a $25,000 whole life plan. And then my goal is here in the near future, I want to bump it up to 50. So that way, when she's 18, I think the payment at 50, I think it was only like $42, maybe $52 a month, something like that. But then by the time she's 18, because of when I started it, it's fully vested. And if she wants to go to college, she can take a loan against her whole life policy, tax-free loan, tax-free money. She can go to school and she's not stuck in that student debt trap. That was my goal. So that was my way of doing a college fund, was to do a whole life policy that she could borrow against to go to college when she's 18. So that way she's not stuck in student loan hell. And if she does pass, for God forsaken whatever reason, her life insurance policy is still there. There's so many tricks. Oh my gosh. Yeshua says, sorry to ask you this. Is there a reason the picture behind you is upside down? Oh, is there a reason that is? So the reason I have that like that is because I am of the debasement trade. Because since 1913, 99% of the purchasing power of the dollar has been deflated. Since 2025, we've lost over 25% of our purchasing power. The dollar is dying. Last year, I believe it was, our spending was 143% of our GOP. So as a country, we spent 43% more than we made as a country. That's why that dollar is going down. That's why I invest in things like silver, gold, copper, deflationary assets like XRP. I used to be invested in Bitcoin. I rotated out of it. Things that I think solve major problems in the future, like alternative energy solutions, cryptocurrencies as well. And then asset-based real estate, right? Things that are stable, that aren't going anywhere. Things there's a fixed amount of, because regardless of what happens, they are not going anywhere. That's why you see a lot of these big companies right now, Bill Gates and whatnot, buying huge chunks of land. Number one, there's a finite amount of land that exists in this world. Number two, they also own the water rights to that land when they purchase that land. So now they have 2 key resources that will be fixed supply as we go forth in this world. That's everything for me, is about the long view. I zoom out on everything. So, that's how these guys are playing the game. They're playing chess while everyone's playing checkers. We're running around chasing crypto. They're buying up half the damn country because there's not going to be enough land, honestly. So that's why I have that down there, because I believe that fiat currency is going down the toilet and I'm trying to hedge against it. I truthfully have more in crypto and assets than I do in cash. I have less cash than I do by anything else by far. So a lot of stuff I think is going to be happening this year, but that's why I look at things the way I do, and it's worked out well for me to this point. I'm able to survive without working a regular job right now because I was able to set myself up in advance properly over the last few years, even coming out the divorce and losing all the money I had before. But over 3 years, I was able to work my way back up and get to this point where I am now, so I can be here and do this every day with you guys. How many people we got in the stream here? Let's take a look. I don't even know anymore. I'm just rambling. I feel like 16 people in the stream. Okay. Yeah, we're dying down. We went through the whole chat. We went through the whole recap. I appreciate everyone taking your time to be here today. I'm going to go ahead and hop off here. I will see you guys tomorrow at noon. Hopefully we have some more price action. Looks like price is on the way back up again. So I will see you guys tomorrow. And no, I buy futures copper. Physical copper, way too bulky. Crypto Roger, silver's now at 92, sitting on over 3,000 ounces. Good for you, Crypto Roger. You got more than I do, but my silver's doing just fine as well. But I'm going to get out of here. You guys enjoy your day. Appreciate every single one of you. I'll see you tomorrow, all right? Later, noon.